I think you're doing an amazing job,
Thank
and
you, Tori.
in spite of, because there are some people that are really messed up behind being abandoned by their parent, whatever the situation was, and you're a success story
Yeah.
for
Oh,
sure.
thank you, Tori. I really appreciate. I'm telling you, it's from again. I can't say it enough. Women. I can't say enough.
Mhm.
When I see a representation yourself, when I see women, and I'm like, man, like we are just. It's just one bringing life into the world alone. You know what I mean? It's just,
Mhm.
baby, you can die. Like
It's
I can't say that.
magical.
Like I cannot say that enough. I know that sounds, but I'm like, you can die.
Yes.
It's a terrifying experience, and to be able to, baby, do you know this is embarrassing, Tori? Do you know still to this day, I done had 2 children, and I really still don't understand how the birthing experience works. Baby, I'm out here just, I don't know. I didn't look down there. I didn't want to look down there. I didn't look at no videos. I ain't want to do that. Like and again, like it's just like what our bodies can do.
Mhm.
Even as a mom and going through our journey, I
How it
feel
bounced back.
yes, girl, how we
Mhm.
feel. Like, how do you ever feel like, well, I know your kids are older now, but like when your kids, like I feel the energy of my children, and I'm
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
that is correct. Like, baby, you can't tell me nothing. I am a superhero.
It is because their DNA is still inside of us.
That's insane.
Their every child that we have leaves DNA inside of us, and
Mhm.
that's where that connection comes from. I was just reading an article about that literally 2 days ago.
Girl, I know when my kids are sad, when
Yeah.
my daughter, like, and I could be away, baby. I've been out of town, and
Mhm.
I've called my husband. I'm like, the baby, she crying. What's she crying about? And he like, how the hell do you know that? And I'm
Mhm.
like, I don't know. I feel, it's crazy. And the thing about it is, what I feel like I always try to stay away from is because you know how I feel like Instagram, well, not Instagram, but just social media as a whole has put this. Like, oh, you're only a good mom if you do this, or if you cut
Mhm.
up little triangular sandwiches, and baby, that don't make you no good mom. It's literally about how your
Mhm.
kids and
'Cause
one thing
that's
that I can
all a
say,
facade. That's all a facade. Just like that
it
video
is,
you made the other day, they will clean up that little area. Kids will still be they'll be hungry, unfed, and you sitting up in front of a darn computer trying to look
girl.
all aesthetic so
Yeah,
that you can get on social media.
yeah, yeah.
That's
And
what
that
that is. It's a lot of that going on.
and I feel like that's what I think let get to me because again, not having representation, like, oh, I'm supposed to be doing this, I'm supposed to be doing it. Baby, it's ghetto over here. Sometimes my kids eat oatmeal for dinner. Okay. That's what they wanted.
Listen, cereal.
Right.
Okay.
So
Listen, because I'm the mama that don't cook.
you
Okay.
did say that. I
I
forgot you
don't
said
cook.
it, Tori.
My husband cook. And I do cook every once in a while, but I don't be in no kitchen like, that is one
I
thing.
don't be in no kitchen.
uh I don't be in no kitchen cooking, standing over no stuff. Now I cook breakfast, but to be cooking dinner and stuff now, and I know how to cook very well.
Yeah, you just don't like to do
I
it.
just don't like it. I can't. Oh, I do holidays.
Okay.
Yeah, I do holidays, but yeah, I
Hey,
mean every woman has their thing, like 'cause my husband, well, he does most of the cooking, but I'm the one that clean up.
thanks. That's that good
So
teamwork
it's like whatever works for your family dynamic,
for sure.
right? So I think that we all have to learn that balance of parenthood and even for yourself.
Yeah.
So not only for parenthood, for your individuality, so you don't lose that,
Hmm.
for your marriage, for everything, all of those things. I think you're doing an amazing job.
Thank you, Tori. And it feels so good to hear from women who are doing an amazing job as well. You know what I mean? That's why I'm so big on just that encouragement. We all need that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
We all need that pick me up. Like, because again, like I'm really over here crying. But you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? When people say that, I'm like, oh, okay, I guess it's not that bad. So
yeah.
thank you. I appreciate that, sis.
Because just I know I'm looking on the outside in your involvement with your kids and the fact that you care enough to even say, I don't want my kid, I want to homeschool my kids and I want this for them and I want that for them and I want them to know, where they come from and like
Yeah.
all of those things right there is with love and care.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't care and if you weren't doing the good job that you're doing, those things wouldn't even matter.
Yeah.
They'd be in that public school, regardless of whether they ain't learning or not. I'm battling back and forth with whether I want to take mine out because, like,
Girl,
what you doing?
this world is crazy. That's why. Look. and
Yeah.
that maybe that getting rid of the Black history and stuff like that. We don't play that over here.
Yeah, oh girl, we learns about Black history over here.
Okay.
Okay,
Right.
we get the books, we buy the books, and we have the programs, and we're gonna get it done over here.
Yes. Yes.
But
Because it's
yeah, I think
important.
it's real important that
Yeah.
we, and I think honestly we had gotten away for so long. Our community had gotten away from the things that were used to be important to us
Yes.
and let the systems take over.
Yeah.
And that's another reason why I feel like our wealth is the way that it is,
Mm-hmm.
because we let the systems take over because we're like, oh, we're being accepted now. So we're
Yeah.
just going to go here for the coffee or for the groceries or for the whatever,
Yeah.
because and not really support the Black businesses or whatever. So I think that we have to get back to what we feel like is important for our family. We need to start it at home
For
versus
sure.
depending on the systems, the school system, a job or whatever to supply for our family.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Can I ask you a quick
Yeah,
question?
sure.
So, because I feel like you can help me with this. So, my thing is this: would you consider? So, this is the thing. I feel like in the most weirdest, awkwardest way, our children are should be a reflection of us, is a reflection of us. And that's why I feel like it's really mainly up to you, especially when you have younger children at home, how you talk to them, the life that you speak into them or whatever. But like, do you ever wonder, or do you ever feel like, I mean, I know your kids are amazing, but I'm saying like, what about like I always just have this fear of like those parents who are like, man, I did everything that I could. They grew up in a great home and they had the best educational system. They was always taken care of. And then they come out to be these terrible people. And it's just like, is that your fault? Is the like that is my,
Yeah.
and again, me overthinking, me holding myself back. That like, how do you now that your kids are older, and it's just like, you know how like people be saying that like, girl, he ain't shit. Like they be saying that about their own kid, like because what they not doing nothing with their life. And I'm like, you were given every opportunity or whatever. And I again, that's why I'm so hard on myself. So it's just like, what can I do? How do you what advice would you have for someone that is just like that is the constant fear of as I'm raising this as this child? I know they're gonna grow up and be their own people and I want that, but at the same time, I feel like I need to like what do I do?
So with that, it you just have to instill the values that you want in your kids. You have to instill that and know that they'll come back to it. Now we
Yeah,
all will kind of lose our way sometimes, when we're trying to find ourselves. A lot of times we will rebel and
yeah,
go the opposite way. But if we go through that 9 times out of 10, we're gonna come back to what we know.
yeah.
For instance, my daughter, and she was, like I said, she kind of withdrew when she
Hmm.
was in high school. She was going through a lot. I didn't know because she wouldn't talk to me and, all those things. Went from being her best friend when she was about 12 and 13 years old to her, when she turned about 15, 16, to like
Hmm.
nothing. Like she wouldn't talk to me. She wouldn't, any of that. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, she was probably like maybe 45 days out from her being 18 years old.
Um,
She left the house and didn't tell me she was leaving. She literally left, packed her stuff, left where she wanted to leave, and then left me a note saying that she didn't want to talk right now, but when she was ready to talk,
hmm.
she would contact me.
Sorry.
And mind you, I'm a hands-on parent,
Yeah.
and it hurt me. It hurt my heart
I
because
told
I had
you.
no clue of what was going on. There was no argument. There was no nothing. I
Mhm.
let her go be with her friends. I was a very lenient parent. I didn't believe in, keeping them trapped up in the house and,
Mhm.
stuff like that. So it was just like out of nowhere. And so she went through what she went through. And then when she came around, we had the conversation. She apologized. She told me what her grievances were. But when
Yeah.
she heard my side of things, she felt like we, like she wasn't a part of the family, is what she said. So when I
Mm,
told her, I said, Colin, you retreated from us. You wanted to be in your room all the time.
yeah,
You didn't want to eat dinner with us no more. You didn't want to go places with us no more. So I'm thinking it's this teen thing. I'm gonna let her be asking if something is wrong. So you withdrew from us.
yeah,
And she was like, you know what? You're right. Like, so they have this thing, and she had this thing in her mind to where it was us that didn't want to have anything to do with her. When she was the one retreating. Not
yeah,
saying it's your fault or
yeah,
whatever, whoever's fault, but she went through that and then she came back because she didn't realize. So if you instill it in them,
yeah,
and the church is always in her. She always go back to the church because she
yeah.
was raised in the church. And she always, even when I stopped going to church,
You
she
still,
wants to go to church. My son, all of my children want to go to church. Like
yeah,
that's their foundation. I've already told them, my things about church and the church hurt and all of that stuff because I
yeah,
grew up in the church heavy,
mm-hmm,
and then some things happen, you know.
mm-hmm,
But even still, even though they go off to the left,
yeah,
they always revert back. Now, I ain't gonna say always. In my situation, it
right.
was they always came back home. They
Mhm.
always came back to that foundation that we laid for them.
As a parent, though, did you feel like you could have done something differently? Because that's my thing. I'm always having regret. Like, well, maybe I should have did that. Like, and then she wouldn't have felt that.
Well, I feel like, I did probe. I asked questions, and it was like sometimes I didn't have the words or the questions to ask, but I always would ask, what's wrong? What's going on? Is it anything
Yeah.
going on at school? Did somebody hurt you? Trying to figure things out. And I'm
Hmm.
like, well, maybe I could have, pushed a little bit harder, but then
Hmm.
on the other side of that, I feel like if I would have pushed even harder than what I was pushing, then
Yeah.
she would have went even further away,
Exactly.
because she didn't really want to talk about it. She didn't want to, go through having to verbalize what she was feeling or what she was
Hmm.
going through. And I put her in therapy. I like literally I did what I knew and what I felt like would help her. You can never know everything,
Yeah.
and you're gonna have to let that go. That
I'm
you're
so
gonna
glad you
know,
just said. I needed to hear
yeah,
that. I
you're
do
gonna have to
because
let that go. That you're
you're.
gonna know everything and know everything to say and know everything to do and know every type of resource that you need to give them because you won't.
See, I be busting through the doors now. Cause that's the thing. I feel like I'm going through
I
that with
mean,
my
I
son.
still did that. I
Yeah. But
still
see,
did
I'm
that.
like, maybe I don't need to do that. Maybe I do need to let him kind of, because that'd be again, I be overthinking stuff, girl. But my son is still
Yeah.
very young. But
Yeah.
yeah, that really, I needed to hear that because I feel like as a mom, you're supposed to have all the answers. You are supposed to have all the
No,
resources and stuff.
you
So
won't. You
yeah.
won't. And I feel like that is also that will also work against you as the mother and the child, in the parent-child relationship, because for her, she felt like I should know everything. I should have known even though she didn't say anything to me. I should, so you can't.
Mhm.
There is no possible way unless that communication is just so on point
Yeah.
that you literally tell each other everything from rooter to the tutor to every you just don't know, and you
Yeah.
won't know everything. So
Mhm.
you do have to give yourself that grace, and you have to work on that. I'm supposed to know everything
Mhm.
because shit, do we have our life all the way together?
Not at all.
So how are we supposed to have our life and their life all the way together
Right.
and know
Right.
all the answers? You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
you have to give yourself that grace, and know that there are going to be mistakes that you're going to make, but just be okay with saying, oh, my bad, I'm sorry about that, I didn't even know. Or you know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
feel like parents need to be able to apologize to their kids and
For
let
sure.
them know that they're not perfect and they
Yeah.
don't have all of the answers, because that's where the disconnect is, I feel like sometimes, and what they expect of us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will say recently with my son, we've been starting to do these things where we write letters. We find that that's more just kind of helpful because he's kind of shy. But
Mhm.
then, and for so long, I'm like, hey, you don't want to, I'm your mama, boy, what the hell? You ain't want to talk to me?
Yeah.
And it's just a lot easier for him to write. And honestly, it actually, little hack, we struggle with, and that's kind of why I pulled him out of school. He was a COVID baby. So, and I'm sure, with Aiden being the same age, but
Aiden started kindergarten online.
girl, exactly. And wasn't that crazy? Wasn't that fucking crazy?
That
Like,
was crazy.
y'all want them to go out and break out rooms in kindergarten, but okay.
Mhm.
Ain't never been to look. My son had never went to
Know how to
daycare.
work a Zoom better than I do.
Child. But yeah, so his he was kind of behind with school and everything like that. And so writing ended up being kind of a 2-in-1 for us, where like it helped him with his English and writing and pronunciation and stuff like that. But then his feelings. But yeah, we're kind of going through that phase right now. And I'm just like, son, like I just kind of constantly try to reiterate, I have an open door policy. Like, let's have a no judgment zone. So you don't feel like it's kind of like parent talking to child. Like, how do you feel? Because in this world, it's just I hate to be like this. Like, no offense, girl, these kids is weak as hell. I'm sorry. And like how I grew up in my upbringing, I'm like, I just be trying to be like in your face because hearing these stories of these kids killing themselves and stuff like that over some feelings. I'm like, boy, if you don't
It's
log off the
heavy.
computer, if you don't somebody's cyber bullying me, turn
You
the
don't
damn
need to
computer
be
off.
on the computer then, because I literally just had that conversation with Aiden and told him the reason why he won't have social media until he's almost grown.
Girl,
Because I literally just had that conversation with him. But I feel like the no judgment zone thing is a good thing.
yeah.
I tried that as well, with Kylan, and she would open up a little bit to me, but I think she had already had those walls up, but the writing thing is amazing. That's a great start for you to allow him to write letters, and as well as having that no judgment zone rule, because it will allow him to know that regardless of what happens, I can always go to my mama or my daddy. We do have to let them know though that just because there's no judgment zone don't mean that there won't be consequences if it's something that's bad enough.
You just robbed somebody. Like, what the hell?
Right. You still want them to be honest, because
Yeah.
in situations you're still able to help them, like if help them when they need to be helped, but you still have to know that
Yeah.
things come with consequences. But yeah, so that's a great start.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Tori. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Thank you for saying what you said. Because, like I said, it really just, I don't have I don't have any friends. So, I mean,
Mhm.
again, I think that'd be another thing that'd be messing me up of just not hearing it. Is often. And that's why I created my program and stuff like that. Because I felt like I needed a community. I needed to know that, like, okay, y'all ain't perfect either. Okay, cool, 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 cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It is we always feel like we are going through things by ourselves if we don't reach out to others.
Yeah.
And that also can stump or stunt our healing as well if we are not connecting with other people,
Yeah.
and letting other people know how we feel, not just random people, so maybe
Yeah.
somebody you can trust, or whatever, or even a therapist or a coach, but you have to keep that line of connection open just so you don't get in that tunnel of I'm the only one going through this. Like this is because that will even take you down into a tunnel, come out with whole other issues
Girl.
because of that.
I know.
On top of the issues that you already had. So yeah, because that could lead to depression.
Yeah.
And when you thinking, oh, I'm the only one that's going through this, everybody else is doing so good, but I'm not, yeah.
Baby, I was borderline. I'm bored. I'm telling you it, but really it's some generational curses that just,
Mhm.
but again, I'm aware. And so
Mhm.
I immediately like pick, I'm like, oh, that depression kicking on. Let
Yeah.
me, so again, that's why I said I'm just so grateful for my community, meeting women like yourself, having this platform, creating this platform so we can have these conversations because it's it's healing. Not for me, sometimes it just takes, saying it out loud. Like I say
Mhm.
all the time when I get on live, although I'm talking about a certain topic, there are times where I just talk about like, hey, I'm going through this, y'all.
What
Like,
you're going through, yeah.
and it feels so good just to get it off because holding that stuff in, that's why I believe in journaling. And again, it really does help. I know I don't have all the answers by no means at all. Baby, still
So
trying to
just
figure.
like you say you don't have all the answers when your mentees be asking you and thinking you should have all the answers,
Man,
the same thing goes with as being a parent.
yeah,
The
yeah.
same exact way. You feel
It's
like,
just
yeah.
it's just trying to get little Sierra up out of me. That's all. Because
Mhm,
I'd be like, you gotta have all the answers, girl, because that's what makes you the better. You know what I mean? But it's just like,
mhm,
girl, now,
mhm,
like you said, the fact that it's day and night, I'm gonna reference that back more often
mhm,
now. That it's
mhm.
day and night.
Yes,
is-
what you grew up in versus
mm,
what your kids are growing up in have
Yeah.
been your kids international, baby.
Thanks, Tori.
Okay. I'm sure little Sierra was not international.
Not at all.
Okay.
Maybe I ain't never left the projects.
Hello.
This all I've ever seen. Roaches and rats. That's it.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, reference that and then just know that, there is power even in taking ownership of I'm not gonna know everything.
Right.
And that power is I don't know everything, but I can find it out for you. Just
Mm-hmm.
like if you at work and you helping somebody,
Mm-hmm.
you want to take that same attitude with come to me with it
Yeah.
because I'm the best source.
Mm-hmm.
Not your friends over here that don't know nothing, that just be repeating what they heard or making stuff up. Come
Right.
to me, and then we're gonna figure that thing out.
Right.
You know. So yeah,
Thank you, Tori.
you're
I
welcome.
needed that. See, I didn't cry too much. I had a little
But you did good,
because
girl.
girl,
You
every
had
time
me
I
over here teared up because
that's why I said I was
yeah,
holding back. I hold it
because
in.
you're getting that. I'm proud of you from your mom. That was so special.
It was.
That was so special. Yeah,
It was. But
especially.
I just think it just plays into, unfortunately though, just like my relationships though with my family, you
Mhm.
know. And then I
How
struggle. Girl,
so?
look, I need a separate session, okay? 'Cause I feel like sometimes I even feel guilty for being able to get that, and they didn't get that. So is that why our relationship
And you
is?
feel guilty.
Yeah,
Mm.
you know.
And
So
you shouldn't feel guilty. You were there with her.
yeah,
You were there. I don't know the situation. I don't know how much they came to visit her or whatever. And they may have gotten their own. I don't know. But
true.
you were there with her in that moment and you got what you needed.
Hmm.
You know, everything happens the way that it happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And I feel like the way that you appreciate it
Hmm.
also it added to the blessing
For sure.
because
For sure.
God knew you needed that.
I wouldn't have. I probably wouldn't have made it.
Yeah.
Like I probably wouldn't have made it because again, depression.
Mhm.
I don't like to say postpartum because I feel like the symptoms of postpartum. I'm okay. Okay, I don't feel like that. I'm just depressed.
Well, how far were you from having a child when your
My mom
mom?
passed. My son was 5, so that's why I'm like I don't wouldn't consider it. I mean,
Oh,
but some
so
people be
you weren't
saying
pregnant with Zyla yet.
no, no,
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah. So that's why I'm
Yeah,
like, you
yeah.
know. I think it's just again, just general. Again, like when you grow up in the system, like
It's
there
the
really needs to be
trauma
therapy.
behind everything that
Yeah.
you had already went through as a child.
Yes. And as much as I'm a person like, oh, I don't believe in therapy or whatever like that, because I have my husband, I have God. And the reason why I say I don't believe in like, don't get me wrong, this to me, I feel like this is there. I mean, I think so. You know what I mean? But as far as like going to go sit with a complete stranger, I don't personally like that's just not my thing for me. Because
Mhm,
I'm a different person. Like when I first meet you, for example, I'm gonna be very reserved. I'm gonna be very like you're not gonna know my personality and me
mhm,
um versus somebody that knows me or has gotten to know me and kind of knows some kind of qualities about me, like again, some things about me, we've had our conversations and stuff
mhm,
like that, so I think that's why it's relevant to have this conversation, because although you're still outside looking in, you do have like a grasp of my personality and who I am, so I think that that's helpful. But yeah, like I go back and forth of the idea of like, damn, do I need therapy or something? But I just feel like in life we just all go through things, so it's just
I would say in my experience, because I was there at one time, and
mhm.
I still sometimes struggle with going to therapy. I've tried it a few times. I feel like with therapy, you have to take it for what it is. You have to be a willing participant to go all the way in
Mhm.
or don't do it. And what I mean by that is once you find that you do have to do your due diligence up front first
Okay.
to find the one that you want, and they have the filters that you need, whether you want to have a black therapist, a woman therapist, or a man
Mhm.
therapist, you know, that specialize in certain things. Like you want to be able to find, and I feel like as a black woman, we
Mhm.
definitely should be going to another black woman or a black man, preferably a black woman,
Yeah,
because there are certain things that culturally that would not be understood by a different race
for sure.
or a different gender that
Yeah.
we as black women go through. And also when you go to therapy, you do have to, like I said, be all in so that you can go down the list of everything that happened, because there are tools, there are things that they can give you that
Mhm.
will help you
Okay.
regardless of whether you decide to make it a long-term thing or whether you go for a short period of time, and then they're able to give you something to put in your tool bag so that you can, you know, move forward in a more productive way,
Mhm.
and instead of being stuck in the things that you had previously been stuck in,
Mhm.
if that makes sense. Like,
It
because
it
they can
does.
give you ways to cope with different things. They can give you different tools. And see, a therapist goes back into what you went through.
Mhm.
A life coach such as myself will
Yeah.
take you, okay, we're sorry that happened to you in the past, but we want to focus on how we're going to move forward to be successful, how we're going to be
That's what
productive
I
moving
need. That's
forward.
what this was,
Yeah.
and that's why that works. I think the reason why I say I would consider therapy is, and this is the one, and tell me if I'm wrong. I think this is the only reason why I would want to go, because like how you brought up again, I was excited to talk to you. You know, I didn't have any. I'm like, I ain't gonna cry or whatever like that. This is just a
Mhm.
little, you know, we just gonna be asked questions and I'm gonna answer them. But like the reason why I be saying like, damn, do I need therapy is because like when I bring up that moment with my mom and stuff like that, I still get emotional behind it.
Mhm.
When I reference anything to my mom, I get emotional
You
behind
did,
it.
yeah. Mhm.
But then I'm like, but I'm good. Like it's crazy now where like I can't really explain. Like for example, and the best example I've used. Sorry, I'm sorry, I'm gonna wrap this up. But let me just say this. I
No, you
feel like you
good.
could help me with
You're
it.
good.
I more so think like, dang, do I need therapy? Because for example, when my father-in-law passed, he just passed 2 years ago. I was devastated. I was hurt to my core. Like you would have thought this man was my father. You know what I mean? Like I was like, wow, this is what a like. I mean, obviously, I can't compare my feelings to my husband because that's his dad. But like, I just really felt like life couldn't go on. You know what I'm
Mm,
saying? In that moment, when my mom passed, I hate to say it, but it was almost a relief. It was
mhm,
almost a I can't like the difference between the two, and I know these are two different people, and and the reason why I bring this up is because I say this all the time with my and I when I talk to my husband because I be saying he my therapist, girl, God, everything like that. But like the relationship that I have with my father literally lives maybe 20 minutes away from me. I can
mm,
count on my hands how many times he has seen myself, his grandchildren, and again, through what I went through and where I'm at in my life now, I'm like, I don't really care to have a relationship with you, but this is your opportunity to maybe fix that and have a
mhm,
relationship with my kids, and you're not even doing that. And I say myself all the time, like I tell myself this all the time, like if he passed tomorrow, I would not feel anything. I mean, of course, I think somebody dying is sad, but at the same time, what I believe in, where I'm, baby, I know where I'm going when I leave this earth. But
mhm.
um, and I'm like, I don't think that that's normal, that's a little off. Like to not be, I don't want to use the word devastated, but like, okay, they passed. You know?
So I would not say that I'm not gonna say you're gonna say it's not normal because the connection was not there. You didn't have that type of relationship to where it would be so emotional and what you would think that it should be in you
Yeah.
grieving. Now, as far as you bringing up your mom and still getting teary-eyed and getting emotional every time you reference your mom,
Mhm.
that to me says that, and a lot of people think that just because you didn't have that good relationship with your mom and you didn't really um care to have a relationship because they had been through so many things, means that I'm good and I'm not going to grieve, or I don't have to grieve them.
Mhm.
But you do still.
Yeah.
And if you have not completely grieved, um and even though I've grieved, and a lot of women do grieve, and they've had good relationships, it's still going to be moments that we have that
Mhm.
bring those tears to our eyes. So it's
Yeah.
an ongoing thing. There are times where I can talk about my mom and I'm perfectly fine, but
Yeah.
then there's moments and times where I can just have a thought and I'm done for the day,
Yeah.
you know. So and my mom passed in 2010.
What is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been years.
Yeah.
It's been years. So it's an ongoing thing.
But you have a
It will
loving
never,
you had a loving relationship with your mom,
it
though.
don't mean a thing. Your DNA was still inside of your mama, and
Mhm.
you got your mama's DNA.
Man. True.
Do you know that there are babies that from the time they get out the hospital are adopted by somebody else? And them babies, and if they know that they are adopted, they yearn
Mhm.
for that. I want to meet, or I want to know my mama.
Yeah.
It's for a reason. So
Mm.
regardless of whether you feel like we had this close relationship, there's still that biological piece that is going to have you. Now, there are some people that's just cold with it,
Right.
it may not have, those feelings associated with it, but there's still something there whether they admit it or not.
Yeah. That
So,
helps.
you have to know that it's not something that's just gonna go away at some point. You may have your moments, and then you'll have less of those moments as time go by. But there's still going to be moments.
Okay. Well, that's refreshing. I've never nobody's ever told me that, so that helps. Because 'Cause I'm thinking like, "Girl, eventually, okay, it's been 5 years.
Yeah,
Okay." You know what I mean? But yeah, so and it's crazy, like I said, every time because 'cause I'm like, "Girl, I'm strong. I'm"
yeah.
but okay,
You might be strong, but honey, them emotions and
baby.
emotions mixed with a little bit of trauma and mixed with,
Yeah.
a little bit of what we wish we had, and you know that's a strong combination. So
Mhm.
if you don't work that out, it'll just be a little bit worse for you. But even if you worked it out, or even if you had the best relationship with your mom,
Mhm.
you're still going to have those moments periodically. It might be years that go by, because I know I did a lot of suppression.
Yeah.
I just suppressed everything, and years went by, and then I realized what I was doing, or it just came out at a inopportune
Yeah.
time.
I heard
And
you say that about
yeah,
Mother's Day, and I was like, "Wow, that's
yeah,
how I feel."
yeah.
Okay.
If you suppress it long enough,
Mhm.
it will just come out at the most inconvenient time, and it might be violent. It might be, just because you suppressed it and it just has nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
it's those emotions just coming up.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
when I heard you say that, like, that really hit me because I was like, "Man," she said she had a relationship with her mom and, like, how you said, the whole Mother's Day thing and not really ever thinking about it, and then you thought and I'm just like, "Man,"
Yeah.
like,
Because I
so
think what happens is I I felt I probably subconscious, this is what I think happened.
mhm.
Subconsciously, if I suppress it or if I don't think about it, it's not real, or I won't get emotional. But it happened. It's real, and you will get emotional.
And how does that work for you? Because 'Cause you're a Cancer. Y'all sensitive, right? Aren't you a Cancer?
I am, but I am not as sensitive. I don't really show my emotions like that. Uh,
Mhm.
yeah.
Because I
don't
be like, I
really.
got cancer traits. Because it starts on my birthday, but I be like, baby, I'm a baby. I'm a crying
'Cause
baby.
your birthday is in July too, right?
Yeah, because you're beginning of July, right?
I'm July 9th.
Yeah, I'm the 23rd.
Yeah. But I don't yeah, I am,
You
but I
strong.
don't I feel I'm a very much so an empath and I feel
Okay.
things very deeply.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I don't do whole bunch of crying. I
Okay.
don't
That's me,
I don't
Tori.
no, I ain't saying that to, do no dig at you, but I'm just saying
Yeah.
I said it that way because everybody responds the way that you did about being a cancer. Oh, you a cancer. You just so sensitive.
No, I would think you would be more like, a crybaby. I think that's where I be getting it from. Because like when
Yeah.
I look at my daughter
A
and
lot of
husband,
cancers are very like I will like
you
I
strong too.
will cry at a movie or something like that and it was more I think I have conditioned myself
Oh.
because I went through a bad relationship
Mhm.
and felt like you ain't nobody else gonna hurt me like you hurt me.
Yeah.
And
Like you've been through the worst of the worst. So it's like this ain't
yeah,
nothing. Okay.
yeah,
Okay. I'm
yeah.
like, why is all this stuff happening to my ass
Right.
crying
So I feel
about
like
everything?
I went through the worst of the worst in that relationship. And if it ain't that or worse, then I ain't got nothing to cry about.
I'm gonna start using my childhood that way then. Girl,
Yeah,
okay.
that's
Okay.
a good,
Okay.
but I mean, it's good to cry. There are times where I want to cry and I can't.
Tori.
Yeah, because I feel like I conditioned myself for that, which is sad. But I realized it, and I do now allow myself to go through a full session of feeling
Yeah.
because before I would feel it and then I'd be like, oh, I gotta get busy so I won't feel this, or yeah.
And see, crying has what made me because for so long as a kid, I didn't cry. And
hmm
so now as an adult, baby, I cry about everything.
And what it is that you have a life now, you have your partner, your husband, where you feel comfortable. You weren't safe
Yeah.
were in your conditions and who you were with when you were growing up to be that vulnerable.
That's crazy.
But
I never
now,
thought about it like that. You right.
yeah, but
Just
now
like
that you have
sleeping.
your husband and he is a good husband to you, he,
Hmm.
regardless of what happened, he got your back,
Yeah,
he's not gonna hurt you. You are safe and you are comfortable.
that's what it is. Because I used to
Mhm.
have problems sleeping. Baby, I sleep for 13, 14 hours. Be in a coma.
Yeah, because
So
you feel
wow.
safe.
Wow. That's
You
crazy.
had to you had to survive. And you crying or you getting comfortable and being able to sleep like a baby in those conditions when you was growing up was not you would not survive. You didn't
Mhm.
feel safe in that, so you didn't do it.
That's insane.
Mhm.
Well, at least I didn't cry too much, Tori. I ain't no bad girl. Thank you so much for this. This was really like for
No,
real. Like
thank you
this
for coming and sharing your
is
story.
helpful. This is
Yeah,
amazing. Like seriously, I hope you really continue to do this and just help because again, like people don't be understanding what a conversation, you know what I mean? And when you know that the person is genuine, it means so much. It really does.
because I realized, and the reason why I hold space for motherless daughters and why it's so dear to my heart is because going through, I realized that it was very lonely.
Hmm.
We don't get support. We
Not at
don't
all.
There's no place out here that supports motherless daughters. We don't have it.
You're absolutely right.
So I felt like we needed a space whether how don't matter if it's only two of us or however many of us that's gonna come together and be that support for each other. And that's why I said I wanted to start going live to create that community because and it's gonna be a little difficult for me because but I'm gonna be dedicated to it because this is something that means a lot to me because we need and we deserve this space. Because after it's all said and done, and all the condolences and all of the, you know, um, sorry for your loss and the flowers and whatever, whatever the situation was behind your mom's death.
Yeah,
After that, where everybody at,
exactly.
including family.
Exactly.
So that's why I wanted to create this space for us.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And thank
Yeah.
you for coming on and having this conversation with me.
Of
I
course.
appreciate
Yeah.